that out of his glorious riches he may strengthen you with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. And I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power, together with all the Lord's holy people, to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ.
You know, we are starting this new series. It's called Pray. And, guys, we do these series as generally around here, we're very topical. So we usually pick a topic or a person from the Bible, and we preach on that for 4 or 5 weeks. And that's what we're going to be doing here. We're going to be spending 4 weeks in prayer. And it's really the prayers of Paul. What Paul said, what he did, how he tried to help us grow, and how we're growing. And in fact, that was what he was praying right there. He opened up in prayer in Ephesians 3. So that's where we're going to spend some time at today, is Ephesians 3. Anybody in here, are you a good prayer? Are you one of those people that just prays? Anybody? Nobody? We don't have anybody? Nobody that just is a prayer? How many of you know that you should be praying, but you just don't? You're just, I don't talk often enough with God. Even though I know that I can, I just don't do it, and I don't do it well. Anybody? A couple people? You guys just don't pray? Is that what it is? Have we forgotten that? So, for me, I will tell you is that I am bad when it comes to prayer because I get bored in prayer. And what happens is I'll be sitting there, and if it's a long prayer, they'll be going, and they'll be just talking, and they'll be talking with God. And my mind has gone to, and it'll get to me, because, especially when you're on one of those prayer circles, it'll stop at me, and I'll go, God, do one of your miracles, miracle whip goes great. Oh, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong direction. And that's what happens is that sometimes we end up getting lost, and it's like that ADD or that boredom, and my mind just kind of drifts off. Some of us, we get distracted. Some things happen, and I know that we're all kind of guilty of it. There's been things that I've fallen asleep at prayer groups. And that's tough. You're sitting there, and it just kept going and going, and I just woke up. I was like, oh, it's still going, okay. And it happens sometimes. I was at a prayer group, and if you've ever been to a prayer group, you've ever gone, and they usually get together, and they'll get together and they'll hold hands in a circle for a prayer. And for me, I don't have a problem with that, but usually the problem is that I'm never evenly yoked when it comes to this. So the person on this side sometimes is this tall, and they've got like a grip that can kill. And then on this side, they're like this tall, and they've got fish hand. And so it's like this one over here is flopping, and this one over here, they've got such a tight grip on my hand, and as the prayer gets more intense, they're grabbing tighter, thinking that my hand is going to answer some prayer at some point. And I'm not here to talk prayer. I'm really not. I'm just trying to give you some ideas what happens. Or you get this person and you're in this prayer group and you're not a comfortable prayer. You're kind of one of these people that I don't really pray out loud. And the person right next to you or the person across from you, they go off and they do something and they just start praying like it's nobody's business. Like they are Moses' little brother. And they just, you are amazing, God, and you've done, your word says this, and this. And you just feel inadequate. You just try, you get your mindset and you go, in your word, God, you said this. And you go, you're good to the last drop. Your word's so good, it melts in your mouth, not in your hand. You can start coming up with these. You go, like a good neighbor, you're always there. Thank you for your blood. Blood is thicker than water. And that's what happens. We go through these things, and you run into these different things. And the thing is that we have 2 big mistakes when it comes to prayer. 2 huge mistakes. Number 1, and in your notes, it's kind of important. Our prayers are too small. Our prayers are too small. A lot of times we pray too small. And what happens is that when it is answered, God's work isn't shown. God's one of these people, he's like a mathematics teacher. He wants his work shown. He wants to see how you got to the answer. And so he likes to be able to, and while he will answer things in private, he wants you to see what is happening and that it could not have happened without him being part of it. But you pray too small sometimes. You go, God, please heal whatever, a great prayer. Please heal so-and-so. But a lot of times we go, God, please make it to where I get this job. Well, if you prepared or you walked in and you did what you were supposed to do, you would get the job. And that's just it's just the reality of it. God, He may help, but the answer is that that's not a big enough prayer. That's too small. God, bless this day. He's going to bless the day. He already created it. It's already done. He's already said it's happened. Yes, it's done. Answered. What do you want next? It's like one of these things that we start looking at and we start going, well, what are big prayers? We'll get to that. Then our prayers, the second one is our prayers are just too general. They are just too general. Bless this or bless this meal or, help me at work. Well, help you at work with what? What are you trying to get help at work with? What are you trying to get done? What is it that you want done? What are you specifically asking for? General prayers don't move God to specific actions. General prayers don't move God to specific actions. Do you know that? If you start looking at this and you just go, God, bless this day, and all of a sudden you go, well, I got a new job, I got a pay raise at that brand new job, and all of a sudden everything just fell into place. That may have just been something that happened, but chances are you didn't pray specifically for God to answer those specific things. I'll give you an example. Anybody ever heard of Martin Luther? Not Junior, but the father of Reformation, the church. You look at this, and he had an assistant. When he was out trying to do all these things, he had an assistant, and Myconus, in 1540, Myconus gets sick. I mean, sick. He's expected to die shortly. He is deathly ill. He's sitting and he's laying in his deathbed. He can't talk anymore. And so he pens a letter to Martin Luther. And Martin Luther, he hears this and he goes, no. And he responds. And when he responds in the letter, and mind you, they didn't have email, they didn't have phones back then, so he sent a letter back by courier. And so when it gets there, they're expecting Myconus to die that day. It's like sometimes you ever had where you walked into a place and they go, you might want to start calling your family because it's not looking good. And so you start bringing, well, this is kind of how it is with them. They're kind of looking at this and they're going, from the experience that we've had, it's not looking good. And so Martin Luther responds, I command you in the name of God to live, because I still have a need of you in the work of reforming the church. The Lord will never let me hear that you are dead, but will permit you to survive me. And for this I am praying, because I seek only to glorify the name of God. Now, he didn't hear this. He could read this, but he had already lost the ability to speak. And within hours, he has this miraculous recovery. And he comes out, and what happens is that he goes on and he continues to preach the ministry with Martin Luther for 6 more years. And he dies 2 months after Martin Luther does. Every bit of it, he was specific. He said, this is what I am looking for, and this is what's going to happen. We have a God who will move mountains. We have such power. And what do we do with it? Bless this day. We have amazing power that he's given us. There's 4 prayers of Paul that we're going to talk about today. Over the next couple of weeks. And today we're going to talk about the first one is in Ephesians 3. And really, Paul opens up in this. And remember, is that Paul hated Christians. Okay? And I think today, if Paul was to walk around, he'd still hate Christians. Because it's not how God asked us to be. I think he would look at this and go, I don't like what I see happening. I think he would like to see us have a relationship with Christ, not just this religion that we've kind of established here. And so around 60 AD, he's sitting in a Roman prison, and he writes this letter to the church in Ephesus. And he writes this thing out, and well, he didn't write it. He had a scribe that wrote it. And what he did is he wanted to help equip them and mature them. He wanted them to go through and really help grow them into what they were supposed to be. And when he comes out, in his first line, he comes out and he says, I pray that out of his glorious riches. Now, you have to listen to this. Out of his glorious riches. You hear this. His glorious riches in heaven. He has everything. All of it. And Paul specifically prays for something. He comes out and he goes, out of his glorious riches, he can meet every spiritual blessing. All that can be poured out. That he may strengthen you with power. That he may strengthen you with power. That he will give you more. That he will give you this power. Now, power, by the way, back then, the word is dyno. Where you get the word dynamite for it. That's our word dynamite comes from it. And the word dynamite is explosive. That's the type of power it was back then. When he says power, he's referring to this explosive power. The power that God has is give us to move the mountains, to be able to heal, to be able to do so much that we don't even ask for. That's the type of power. It's explosive. Anybody in here ever accidentally let a firecracker off in their hand? And I'm not talking like an M80 because you'd be missing fingers, but but like a small firecracker. And if you light a small firecracker off in your hand, what happens when that explosive goes off? It hurts. Yeah, that's right. But what else happens? The other thing that happens is your hand blows open. It's explosive. It's hard to contain. This is the power of prayer. It's hard to contain. But we try to contain it all the time. We try and hold it back. We go, oh, it's explosive. It's powerful. Wait a minute here. Just bless the day, God. I just want you to or can you take care of this meal for me? This is kind of where we've gotten a little sideways with it. This generous power and the glorious riches. And we've just gone, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that. Guys, I've seen such amazing prayers answered. If you go to that prayer wall over there, you can look at it and you can just see, you start going from the top and you start looking down, you start going down, you can just see amazing prayers that have been answered over and over and over again. They were specifically asked for. They wrote it out. They said, this is what I'm looking for. And people started specifically praying for that. And that's how it becomes answered. Now, oh, God bless my life. You have a life, right? You have one. You put your feet on the floor. You woke up. He's already given you today. What are you doing with it now? Are you living a life that would glorify God? Are you doing something that God would look at and go, man, I'm showing my blessed child how he's just doing this amazing job glorifying my name? Oh, kind of raises different questions. We have to start looking at it. And really he comes down, and this is what Paul says. He goes, through his Spirit, strengthen you with power through his Spirit in your inner being. That's your outside. Not what people can see, the flesh, your inner being. So that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. Now listen to this. He specifically asked for the church in Ephesus that Christ would be inside of them and dwell, the Spirit would dwell inside of them. But we act like these impoverished children that he's not given us anything. He's given us the Spirit. But we act like we just have nothing. Or we go, God, please bless me. And he goes, I've already done that. You know where you live at? Do you see what country you're in? Talk to anybody who's been to one of these countries. Talk to anybody who's been outside of the United States and see what first world problems look like compared to third and fourth world problems. Look at them. Even the worst of us here have it pretty good compared to what some people have in another. And we go, well, God bless me. You've already been blessed. You are here. You have this opportunity. The American dream is alive. It's just not what we've seen in the past. It's not the white picket fence anymore. But the American dream is still here. Anybody in here have more than $2 on them? Anybody? You're richer than 90% of the world. If you have more than $2 on you right now, you're richer than 90% of the world. You don't think you're blessed? 10% of the population. Yeah, of course there's the super rich, that 1%. But you're part of that 10%. You're already part of the super rich. You're already there. You've already been blessed. Start asking for specific prayer. Start asking, what are you going to do with that blessing now? What are you doing with it? You're already in the top 10% of the world. What are you doing with that top 10%? Are you showing glory to God with it? Or are you just kind of running amok? Which is what we do a lot of times. Start looking at this. Does Christ dwell in your hearts through faith? He does. You've already said, yes, I want you to come in. He dwells there. You have the power to overcome temptation through the Spirit? Absolutely. You ever been getting ready to do something that you know you weren't supposed to do and you just prayed about it and all of a sudden it stops? You have the power to stand strong. You ever asked, God, give me the strength to stand up to this and whatever this is? It's amazing on how that prayer is answered instantly. Instantly. Give me the strength to get through this. What is it? God, give me the power to be bold. Start looking at your life. How bold is it? Is it bold in the right direction or is it bold in the opposite direction? God, give me the tool to repair the garbage disposal. How about that? Because that's what I had to ask for. You know, it takes like a special little tool on the bottom of it. I'm serious. Moved into the house. And you know, we're moving in our, and guys, I'll tell you, is that when we moved in our house 5 years ago, we moved in, and it was a wreck. And by a wreck, I mean, like literally, they could have took a wrecking ball to it, and it would have looked just the same. It was bad. And when we moved in, we had all kinds of things, but most of the tools were there, well, not the tools to fix it, but most of the things to make it a nice place were actually there. All we had to do was buy some paint, rip up some flooring, and rip up some carpet where we had nice hardwood floors underneath. I mean, there was just a whole lot of things that we could have did. Well, I went in there to go to use the kitchen sink, and it just wouldn't drain. And I hit the garbage disposal switch, and it caught on fire, and it did all kind of, like, it was bad. In fact, I still haven't fixed that. It smoked, and the thing that was plugged in next to it caught on fire. It was bad. So I moved the garbage disposal into its own little plug, and now we turn it on and off. If you're an electrician, you probably hate me, but we use a surge protector, and that's how we turn it on and turn it off. And hey, it does. But here's the deal: is that the first time I tried to run it, it just turned on and the motor started humming. It was like, and you go, well, it sounds like it wants to run. And I remember that underneath there's a little special tool that you put in there. And I swear, I went digging through this house, that we're just moving into, just trying to be able to use the sink to wash some dishes. And I walk out into the garage, and lo and behold, right next to the water heater is the tool for the garbage disposal. I prayed specifically for it. I said, God, I need the tool for the garbage disposal. And I walked out to the garage, and it was there. I mean, is it coincidence? Maybe. But I asked for it, and he delivered. I can tell you is that I walked out there, and there it was. It was amazing. It was like one of those things you look at and go, that's what I needed, and he delivered. Do you think that he can deliver us forgiveness? To give us that calmness that we need? Do you think that he can deliver us to be confident? To help get us there? But what about peace? God, give me peace with this. God, give me the words to say in this situation. God, give me this, specifically asking. It's our inner being. That's what he talks about here, our inner being. Not that the outward, guys, it's already wasting away. Because if you talk to anybody, you get this renewing, even if it happens at 80 years old, where your outer body is already still wasting away. I mean, think about it. It's already going through one of these things. You can have your inner being renewed every day, but your outer being, your hair grows gray, things start to sag, your ears grow bigger, inwardly, you're beautiful. On the outside, we look at this and go, well, I'm preparing for Christ. I'm preparing for that. He comes out in verse 17, and I pray that you, being rooted and established in love. Specific again. That you, being rooted and established in love. Are you rooted and established in love? Think about this last week. I always tell you, don't go further than a week because it can get bad. But if you think about this last week, were you rooted in love? How did you treat everybody? How did you treat, and what did you say about them behind their back when they walked away? Did you treat everybody in love? Because we start looking at that and we go, maybe. What did you post on Facebook? Was it in love? Because, we've gotten to this point where, you look back at Martin Luther, he wrote a letter back then, and he wouldn't confront what was going on. But now we just put it on Facebook and hope everybody sees it. Here, you can see all the dirt now. But you have to be rooted and established in love. And may have that power together with all of the Lord's holy people to grasp how wide and long and high and deep the love of Christ. And to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. See how specific this is? It's not general. God, fill me with love. Specific. How high, how deep. By the way, this is one of the best prayers that you can say for your kids. You can just pray over your kids for this, and I pray that you being rooted and established in love may have the power, together with all of Lord's people, to grasp how wide, long, high, and deep the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all fullness of God. This is spiritual power. That's what this is. You're not going to go out and pick up cars. This is spiritual power. This is what you give your children. This is how you teach them how much God loves them. Most of us, we can't handle God's love naturally. We need that supernatural love. We just can't handle it. We wouldn't know what to do. We're so raised in this position where we don't know what it really seems like to love. We don't even have relationships with people anymore. If you start talking to people, people don't talk on the phone anymore, they text. People don't call and check up on anybody. They rely on Facebook. What is it? We wouldn't know what love is. Because what love would have done is that if somebody was going through something, they would show up. Didn't matter if they asked. They'd just knock on the door. How you doing? Thought I'd just come and sit with you for a little while. That's what love would have done. Instead, we don't know what that is anymore because we've gotten so to this point where we rely on technology, or we go, I'm busy. I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it in the last 2 weeks. I'll tell you that right now. And this is what happens. You look around, how many people are we missing that usually are here? Did we go check up on them? Did we abandon the 99 to go fetch the one? That's what we're supposed to do. That's what love does. That's what love does. Well, what's been more important than that? Because we haven't been rooted and established in love. We've been rooted and established in me. What is it for me? What do I get out of this? Am I being taken care of? Are my needs being met? Me. Instead of going, what can I do? How can I help reach? There's a jazz trumpeter from years and years ago, Louis Armstrong. He was asked to explain jazz. And he said, man, if I got to explain it to you, you'll never know. Isn't that how love is? If somebody has to explain it to you, you'll never know what love is. The Holy Spirit descended upon me in a matter that seemed to go through me, body and soul, and I could feel the impression like a wave of electricity going through me, going through and through me. Indeed, it seemed to come in waves and waves of liquid love, for I could not express it in any other way. It seemed like the very breath of God. It's Charles Finney. Love isn't just what God is or what God does. It's who He is. It's what He is. It's love. We can't comprehend the fullness of it until we're immersed in it. Have you ever been immersed in love? I mean, if you think about this, have you ever been immersed in love? Some of you'll look back at a relationship that you had where you go, oh yeah, I remember when we had this puppy dog love going on. That's not really being immersed by love. That's being lavished by gifts and attention. But that's not being immersed in love. Where your needs, everything is just being taken care of. That there's that, and it's not that you don't have to do anything. It's just that you're being surrounded. That when you're around that person, you feel joy, that immersement in love. And some of you can say that about your spouse, that you have that joy when you're with one another. And if you don't have that, then you should work on it, because you can create that. You can. You can create. No, I tell you is that the Bible tells us very clearly is that what God brings together, no man can separate. So God can bring that together and restore that and bring that relationship. And it can be immersed in love. Does it take work? Absolutely, it takes work. Absolutely. But that relationship can be there. But I want you to just think about it. Have you ever been immersed in love? Like a child? First time being held by a parent? Everything about it. And remember if you have children, the first time you saw your child, and you looked down and you held them, there was a feeling that you couldn't describe it. It just came over you. You couldn't even describe it. There's not even words that you could say about it. You're like, I don't know. But you felt this bond that you knew that nothing could ever separate it. That you were looking down, you're going, what did I do to deserve this? In a good way, not a bad way. That comes, 5, 6. That's when it goes, what did I do to deserve this? But it's not because of what we do. It's not because of what I do. It's because of who He is. That's why. You're depressed. You're dragging your feet all the time. You have this lack of purpose. These are all things that we have going on. Your spiritually rich Father can pour it out for you and fix that. It can happen. But we're impoverished children. And we sit there and we go, there's no hope and there's no need. And we think that we're in a third world country. And we go, what am I supposed to do? You pray specifically for what you want God to do in your life. And then, here's the thing that comes off that you have to do along with it, is that you actually have to start walking as if He's already answered it. So you have to start walking and going, God, I know that you've already taken care of it. Now I'm going to go in that direction. That's what you have to do, because so often, the Bible even tells you, it says that if you say a prayer and you even question it or doubt at all, it's already gone. It never even reached His ears. If you doubt it at all, and you hear that and you go, oh man, that's tough, but that's what it is. Are your prayers too general? Are they too small? Think about it. Too general, too small? Start praying for specific things. Specifically ask, please take my kids off drugs. Specifically ask, God, I need to pay my bills. Give me the tools, send me the direction, help me get there to where I can pay my bills. Specifically ask, God, I want my marriage to survive. Help me. And you'll find that those things all happen. Now to Him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us. His power that is at work within us. To Him be the glory in the church and in the Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. God is good. All the time. And all the time, God is good. You know, you start looking at this and start going, what have we asked for? What are we doing? And you might be going, why are we doing a series on prayer? Because have you ever been here on a Thursday night and seen what the prayer team does? They specifically pray for each one of you that turns in a connection card. They pray for everybody in this church, but it's a big general prayer because they don't know what's specifically going on with each one of you. That's the reason why we ask you to fill out a connection card. Every one of you, we want you to fill out a connection card so we can pray specifically for each one of you. Not this general prayer, because we know that general prayers are usually too small and too general to be answered. But specifically, we can answer a prayer, we can see the answer, just like we've seen with so many on the cross on the back wall. Now, we understand that sometimes you go, I don't want to put that down, or that's too confidential. Let me tell you, nothing's too confidential. It doesn't go anywhere. You don't hear about people's deep, dark secrets that we know of. We just pray for them. We love them. Why don't you start thinking about that? You have this explosive power within you. Each one of you. God has given it to each one of us. As soon as the Spirit came to dwell in our hearts, He gave that explosive power. What are you doing with it? What's going on with it in your heart? In your mind, what are you doing with what God has given you? Are you rooted in love? Or are you rooted in what can I get out of this? My me time. It can be a small change. Maybe we can show this community what love really is. Maybe we can learn what love really is. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for just giving us you. It's given us this power that dwells within each one of us. Given us this abundant love that you've poured out so that we could overflow and pour out to others. God, help us recognize it. Help us start using it. Help us start loving. Help us start helping others grow. Father, help us start praying for others. Specifically, praying for others, the needs of our brother. To give them courage. Father, I ask that each person in here and each one of the people that aren't here that want to be here, that wish they could be here, that I pray that you will pour into each one of them this courage to be able to speak whatever's holding them back from you, that they can speak to a brother or a sister, because you say that iron sharpens iron as one man sharpens another. We need your help to be able to open up to one another, to love, to not continue to hide and be reserved. So we can actually ask specifically. So we can ask together. Father, we're so thankful that you've given us these tools and that you've shown us the way and that you've given us this power. All we have to do is ask. We're so thankful for what you're doing right here and now. In this service and in all the churches around us. The power of your presence is there too. It's in your Son, Jesus' name, that we pray. Amen.